have to, first thing first, I have to start by transferring all these extra panels here that this other company has decided to lay all over the place to a location, and then rewire all that and get access control to that location and clean up this box first. So in order to do that, I have a brand new panel that I'm going to gut and cut the back out of it in order to mount the back to the front of this box, at which point I then can start moving all of these trackers to that panel, rewiring this panel, and getting everything cleaned up here before I get to other stuff. Now these, I believe, are the power supplies for that, and that'll all be changing. But right now, let's get started with making the new panel assembly, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so first thing I've done is I've gone ahead and removed the pre-wiring kit out of the enclosure. I've also removed the power supply terminal strip, removed all the screws from the unit. I've also gone to the outer edges of my diameter, and I have drilled holes in the corner to square myself up. Now I'll go ahead and cut this plate out and modify it to fit the door of the unit. Alright, so I've marked everything out. I'm going to go ahead and cut it. In order to do that, I'm going to use a bench grinder or a grinder. In order to do that, I'm going to use a grinder with a 5-inch cutting disc on it, and I'm going to go ahead and cut this out, and we'll go from there. Alright, so we got our plate out and cut. So the next step is I'm going to get rid of the burring and clean up the edge lines with my sanding disc, and then we'll be ready to put the wiring harness back in. Alright, I like to round the corners, but you don't have to if you don't want to. Now I'm going to go ahead and line this up with the door. What would be the unit, which this would be the door. I'm going to take this out because we're not going to be able to use that. And generally, that is what I'm trying to accomplish. Now you can see the lock is in the way, which means I'm going to have to modify this cabinet so that the lock and the tracker enclosure is not going to interfere with any of this. So, and I still want the door to be able to close correctly. I've installed a couple of damaged bad boards just for mock-up purposes, so I know where I have to be and where the holes are going to be drilled to mount to the door, and so on and so forth. So at this point, I've relatively got my height where I need my trackers to be, right in about there. My knob, my lock is going to go that way, so in order to clear this, I'm really going to have to come underneath this and come out right in around here somewhere. I don't really care about that. So roughly right in about there, and that'll be my test portion. Now I've come down a little lower here than I have here because I have, I mean, as you can see, my board is right here and I have a little bit of play still left, so I can slide up so it'll clear the nut, but it'll rest on the nut. So I'm going to go ahead and get that cut out and I'll be back with you. Alright, so I've cut out my notch for my lock. The way I like to do this is I like to set this down here on the floor, the lid on the floor, and I like to put the panel that I just made right here. Then I'll close this with my mock-up tracker boards in place so that I have just the perfect amount of clearance when the door comes in, at which time now I will go ahead and mark for my holes to be drilled in the system, and I usually do 6 holes for the system around the outer edges. I'll pre-drill that, and now that I've got that done, once I got those, we'll go ahead and take this panel and I'll mark here where the lock is and all that other stuff. And this way, when I go to set it in place, I'm absolutely perfect with the door to close. Alright, so it's about the middle of day 3, Wednesday, and we're getting closer. I've gotten some wiring done over here. The new access control panels are getting figured out where they're going to go. It doesn't come out. This is the design panel, the 8-door controller panel, and it's basically done and wired. This one here is cleaned up and wired. Good morning. Well, today is Thursday. I've been tirelessly working on this system, and you can see his computer is gone. Got the new panels up. I won't be doing anything with these panels until probably next week. This is a new access system. The cleanup is going rather well. I'm about 50% done wiring these. This and this is done. This is done. That's getting ready to go. So today we're going to focus on moving and unwiring this entire panel so that I can cut the back out of it readdress it and attach it to the door of this the same way that I did this one. I'm moving the access control system over to here. So I can connect it to this bottom box. So we need to get rid of this. We need to take this down, cut the back out, put it on there. Then very carefully, which I'm going to have to, I hope I get this done today and tomorrow, without disturbing too much in here, I have to, once this panel's gone, once I can remove this panel here so that I can rotate and remove this panel from the wall and put that panel here, then I have another panel down there that's got to go away. Once that's done, then I have to clean up all the high voltage and wiring, get high voltage to my new panels, get control wiring from there to the power distribution boxes for the new access system. So it's a bit of a challenge. It's been a big challenge. It really has. It's caused me some loss of sleep trying to run this thing through my mind. Not to mention all the existing wiring up here. I'm still kind of playing with, trying to figure out what to do. This is the fire break, one of very many fire breaks from the fire panel, which I have to connect through to the power distribution center so that when the power goes out, not the power goes out, when the fire departmental fire alarm goes, so when the fire alarm goes out, it unlocks everything. So this one's been cleaned up. This one obviously is done. This one's cleaned up right here and ready for the new doors. And then of course you can see when they installed this, I mean it's actually really retarded, but yeah, that's what's on my agenda for today. So once all of this is done, I'll remove this shelf, get this out of here, and that'll leave me some more open space. Probably leave this up here for them, but other than that, let's get started. Okay, so I got the panel cut and installed. Uh, just FYI, this is not something that you can just cut out and go put it in. Uh, every bolt, nut, and everything is perfectly placed on this board, uh, so that I have the most use of it. These ones I don't cut the bolts because this is where I tie wrap and I use as my truss for the cabling. Uh, Also, these trackers right here, these are bad. They are for mock-up purposes only. Uh, the tolerance on this board in particular is very, very tight. And as you can see, even though it looks like this may be touching, and there is a small little relay right there at the bottom, if you can see, I have clearance. Paper clearance, so it is not touching the lock even if it wiggles, and it works good. But you have to bend the pins in a certain way. You can see, if you have an eye for it, this is square and this is a little tweaked. You have to adjust those pins to be able to install that correctly. You may be asking, well, why didn't you just turn the board this way? Everything is a tolerance, okay? In order to get this to close perfectly, everything is a very tight tolerance. And you can see right there, it's a tight tolerance. I'll have to loosen screws and let it drop a little bit, but it's a tight tolerance. So, unfortunately, Door King, I wish Door King would actually design a panel like this, but they don't. Next step is to go ahead and take out my mock boards and go ahead and put my wiring harness back in, and get the actual good trackers installed, check and test tolerance, make sure everything's good, and then go ahead and start wiring up this to get this back on. Now, this panel that was here and this panel that's down here, they did a really stupid thing. They have two brain units, and these two were on one brain unit and those two are on another brain unit, but each brain unit can handle 16 different doors. So if 8 and 8 is 16, they had 4, 4, and then they had 4 and 4. So they had 8 on each, and 8 on the other one, and it just didn't make sense. So 8 and 8 is 16 right here. This will be one brain unit. 4, 8, 12, 16. This will be one brain unit right here. So all the ones that were right here are going to now be and fill up and use an entire brain unit, and then I will have 4 over here, which will be on a separate brain unit all by itself, to do your work. Through this installation, I've just become more and more shocked. They use no forks on any of their wiring, which they just stripped it a little bit, put it on, and tightened it under the nut, and that was it. They used no forks on the transformers and tied it on there. They broke these transformers here, as you can see. They used no wire nuts on anything, and that's it. I mean, that's how easy it is to fail. And alright, so it's end of day Friday, and as you can see, I changed my mind about where I wanted to go with the chirp panels. They're no longer against the wall. It made sense to do them since these two panels will be connecting to this one, and this one, and firing the doors. As you can see, this now is on the, it's been cleaned up. Monday I'll land all these. There's 4 more doors here to land. I'll get those done. I've already got all the power supplies done. I actually have the new access control system powered up, but not actually, I don't have internet going to it yet. As you can see here, there's this handles 16, this handles 8. The power supply over here for surge protection, everything's been cleaned up. Majority of my wire management has been sort of cleaned up. I have some tie wraps just to keep it in a closed space. Then of course you have my custom panels right here that I've done. All of these are now powering those up. And this one here turned out really nice. Alright, this is one of my custom panels. This is the other one. Still have to wire this up, but it's been cleaned up and ready to go for all these wires right here, which I have to land and get back up and running. You have your power distribution, which I still have the batteries I need to put in and some tie wraps to put on. This one too. This one, and then we have our new access control system right here. It's not online yet, it's powered, but that's why it's flashing, because it needs internet. This is a 18 door controller, and this is a 8-door controller. I moved the power surge strip from laying on the floor to up here and cleaned all that up. And I also moved the computer from the location over there against the wall. It's a nice new area. Cleaned it up a little bit. All the wire management down there and everything. So it's looking good. Yeah. I'm pretty pleased with where I'm at.